First item on the agenda would be to consider the minutes of the August 11th meeting for approval. Those minutes were delivered to you in your board pack. Any questions or comments on the minutes as presented? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion made.
Motion by Bounds.
I'll second it.
Second by McFerrin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. The claims docket was also available for your review. Any questions or comments on the claims as presented?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ware to approve the claims.
Second.
Second by Dubon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Claims are approved. First item under my agenda would be a report from Ed Cole from Du Bois Strong. Ed is before our council on a periodic basis to give us that update. So Ed, would you?
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, thank you very much for the time this evening. Your partnership and support is very important to us, and we want to make sure. Can I take it? It's okay to take this off? Okay.
You're fine.
Okay. It's very important to us that you feel comfortable with what we're doing and why we're doing it. So that's why I come at least twice a year and sometimes more often depending on activity. So thank you very much. I'll just hit some of the highlights of things that we're working on. One of the things I'd like to talk about, because it's such an impactful project, it's not in the bigger scheme of things a lot of money, but it's called the Neighborhood Assistance Program. It's something that Mayor Spinner actually, I guess, have kind of uncovered, for lack of better words, through the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. And that was back, I think it was probably 2 or 3 years ago now, where you were looking at a specific housing study or analysis for Huntingburg, and this was one of the things that was suggested. It's been a tremendous project. The reason why I say this is because as of today, we have 9 people from Du Bois County who've been able to receive a $4,000 down payment assistance to buy a house here in Du Bois County. And I'll give you the details on how that works. It's a little confusing. What happens is the Neighborhood Assistance Program through the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority allots $2.5 million every year in tax credits. They're state tax credits. And what happens is they will allocate, for example, this year we have $2,080 worth of tax credits. Well, it's always an odd number because they essentially, to keep it simple, take the number of people who apply to the program and divide that into the 2.5 million. So that's why you always end up with kind of these odd numbers. So what we can do is by asking for contributions, we can double that amount to $4,160. And what happens is if you contribute, let's say I contribute $100, which is the minimum, I can take $50 as a direct tax credit off my state income tax. It comes right off the top, so you don't have to run through all the math. It just immediately comes off. So it's a good thing for people who say, hey, especially for people who invest, and they've got a lot of money that comes in at the end, and they're like, okay, what do I do? And I've got this big tax liability. It's a way of donating as well as being able to get some tax breaks. So I tell you all that because with that, we've had those 9 people buy a house. 5 of them have had Huntingburg addresses, which has really been impressive. We've been really pleased with that. So I wanted to pass that on because you're probably going to be hearing more about this later too, because we're going to have to ask for contributions for that $4,160. So you may see or hear emails about that or hear me talk about it some more. One of the great things about that is, as I said, it's been such a great program. How this works and how and I'll just leave it with this last little bit. We work with TRICAP, Neil Elkins, who does it has to be low to moderate income folks, and they have to meet the income guidelines to be able to get the dollars for the down payment. But something that TRICAP does very, very well. So then what they do is they bring the folks in that think that are going to be buying a house, they think they might fit the income guidelines, and that's how we go forward with it. So it's worked very, very well. One bad thing, and I know we've all dealt with the casualties, the sad things that we've had to cancel because of COVID-19. Unfortunately, this year, our tour of opportunity, which we really feel that we've knocked it out of the park last year with our 4 partners of VUJ, the Hub 19 folks, and through the Patoka Valley CTE, we've been very, very lucky to be able to ramp that up. Last year we had 550 8th graders freshmen from all 4 county school corporations go to a wide variety of vocational opportunities. We had people who were visiting banks, we had people who were visiting the radio station, we had people that were visiting car dealerships on car repair and auto body, all of those types of things. We really had a wide coverage. We really felt like we did it the best we possibly could, but then we can't do it this year because of obvious reasons. So unfortunately, that's one of the things we've had to take off the list. But moving on, one of the things, and you guys are doing the same thing here, and it was really a great opportunity to partner, and we compared notes a lot, Mayor Spinner and I, on the enterprise loan program. We have an enterprise loan program, so do you. And it was really interesting. This is one of those wacky karma things, and I don't know how this came about. We had 13 loans for $63,000. You all had 13 loans for $63,000. Go figure that one. And that was round 1. Now you're working on a round 2. We have not gotten there yet. You're ahead of us, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing that you're ahead of us. So we need to look at what money we have available and decide if we want to do a second round. But I tell you, it's been fantastic. Probably one of the most gratifying things we've done. We had people who, they were just $5,000 loans, one for $3,000. That's where we get the 63. But every one of the people was very complimentary and thanked us profusely. And I mean, it's one of those things where you think, okay, I'm really making a difference. And in any job, you always wonder, am I helping people? Am I doing a good thing? And this was truly very gratifying. So we need to look at doing that second round. And you guys, good for you for being ahead of us. Strategic planning is our next thing that we're working on. It's for the last, and I've been in this job almost 6 years, which is a little scary if you think about it, because I remember coming here for the first time. And we had not redone our strategic plan. And we're in the midst of doing that. We have a 4-hour session tomorrow. So if you see Mayor Spinner and he says, okay, I don't want to talk about strategic planning anymore, then you'll know who to blame, and it's me. So we've got our executive committee coming in, and tomorrow is going to be the big day for visioning and looking for what we're going to look at going forward for the next 3 to 5 years. So that's really all I have today. If you have any questions on anything, I'd be glad to answer them.
Kind of going back to the neighborhood assistance program, the very first year that we did this, all the tax credits, it was kind of designed to stimulate purchasing homes, and it was there were 2 entities that purchased all the tax credits.
Yes.
Farbest Foods and OFS Brand. They basically bought all the tax credits that first year in an effort to, and by the fact that they did that, they kind of had first seat at the table when one of their employees or someone coming to seek that loan, they were qualified. That kind of moved them up on the table a little bit since they were active in doing that. So the design is somewhat started off as an employee assistance program as such, but it's evolved over the last 2 or 3 years, and there are a lot of private dollars, private individuals are contributing as well, those who see that need and are doing that. So it started off kind of focused on Huntingburg, and that's why maybe the first couple of loans came our way, but it's expanded to be countywide. But then there's 9 individuals probably in Du Bois County that now have homes here that may have not had that
absolutely
that funding available to get them to that point. So it's a very good program. And Grow Du Bois County is the board that reviews those. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So the Grow Du Bois County board reviews the applications, and They do a great job, so.
And you mentioned the minimum.
Right.
Is there a maximum? You got a 1-to-1 match here, as on it's 2080 to 4160 or whatever, but they're.
If we have somebody who wants to write us a check for 4160, I'm all about it. I am all about it. And I can tell you, and thank you, Mayor, for mentioning OFS, because OFS has been a major contributor to this. We could not have done this seriously without OFS and some other companies, but especially OFS. They stepped up last year and contributed a big amount, or we would not have been able to move this thing forward. One of the toughest things for us, and I know I was emphasizing all the good things about the program, and I still want to do that, but one of the toughest things for us is getting all of these sold. So thank you for mentioning that, Steve, because if we have people that want to do it, we'd be glad to do it, because
Individuals, businesses, anybody.
anybody, and it's either way. It's a tremendous thing, and we struggle sometimes to get all of them sold. Last year, we had to sell oh my gosh, it was over 22,000. We came close, but we didn't quite get there. So I think we were at 18 or 19,000. So we were able to apply under Du Bois Strong because we're also a 501c3. So that's why the dollars are less, but probably more doable to get the contribution. So we've struggled with it in many ways, but it's also been a home run in a lot of ways. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Questions for Ed? Ben, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate
you.
the report.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.
Next up, we have, at the time we've advertised for bids for our owner-occupied housing project. As you're aware of, that project started last year and has been moving on, but like all other programs, the pandemic kind of slowed things down for us and caused us to re-gear a little bit. So I'd like to invite Jenny Deerwester up, and she's going to give us a little bit of an update on where we are, but also there are some projects that we need to open bids for this evening. So Jenny.
Thank you. I'm going to take that. Can't talk. I'll start out with the kind of an update on the program. To this date, we have opened up bids and signed contracts on 11 houses with the program. Tonight, we're going to open up bids for the remaining 3, so we'll have a total of 14. And the contractor, Kevin Gardner, who is responsible for 99% of the contracts, is here this evening. We have construction complete on 2 houses at this time. Indiana Housing has not been able to come out and do their final inspection on it due to COVID. They're not doing that right now. And you're currently what we call under construction on 1. Is that correct? You started it.
I got about 3 days left.
Yeah. So he's started on that one, and then IHCDA did suspended the OOR program from the contractors doing any work. So it's not like it's gone, but they just can't work. And we have or do biweekly calls with them, and as of last week, they were still holding by the suspension until the state reaches stage 5. They are going to look at it again after Labor Day. They are pretty much focused on the rental assistance program that's going on right now, and pretty much everyone at IHCDA is working on that. But they are going to look at it again after Labor Day to see if they will revise the policy as about, letting the contractors get back to work. We've had all kind of different scenarios, homeowners that are willing, that want their work done, some that aren't, don't want them. Same thing with the contractors. So just going to try to revisit that and see when we can get going right now. Like I said, Garner's Construction, he is the contractor that is responsible for the remaining 9 houses that we have, and then he is also the only one that bid on the 3 for this evening as well. We had requested an extension to IHCDA to extend the program out until December 17th of 2021. And just yesterday, the mayor received that approval, so they have granted the extension, so the program will go on through December 17th of 2021. It was kind of hard to develop up a plan and a timeline, not knowing when they could get back to work. And then the other thing is, he is working elsewhere, so it's not like whenever we do get the word that he can just drop everything and come back. He's got to finish what he's got started, so we tried to allow ample time in there to be able to get everything done. So that is granted. Does anybody have any questions? I know that there's not a lot. We have been trying to keep in contact with homeowners. We sent out letters, I think it was in early July, that, when they reach stage 5, that then possibly we can get back. But we do get calls, and if they, we're fine to take calls. I know everyone is anxious to get work done on their home and everything, so.
I assume this is statewide, not just for these, not for these 14 projects.
Yeah, it's statewide, the OOR program.
5.0 plan.
Yep.
And everybody can go back to work. We hope.
So, yeah.
Any questions before we, then you'll have the quotes for the bid then
Yes.
for those?
Anything else? All right. Does anyone want a bid tab sheet to write down?
Yeah,
Keep one for myself. There you go.
Kept sending some down.
we're coming back. Homework.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's- It is from Garner's Construction. And he has submitted all of the required paperwork. Okay, house number 107, $47,010. House number 108, $46,250. And 114, $27,000.
What's that last number?
27,000.
Even?
Yeah.
So they would be taken under advisement and reviewed? Is that the
Yes.
motion that we need here? to
Yes.
Review and then we can award it
At the next,
the next council meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So do I have a motion to take these bids under advisement for review?
Motion made.
Motion by McFerrin,
I'll second it.
second by Ware. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Jenny, thanks so much for your
Okay,
continued
thank
work
you.
on this.
Thank you.
We're going to get done.
we will. Well, I just tell everyone, just have some patience. And like I said, what we'd really like, if nothing else, is we'd really like them to be able to get to work at least on any exterior stuff that we have to do, roofs and that kind of stuff. If there's any, at least get that done so, we can get that done before winter.
I got one question for you.
Sure.
You said there's only so much money in this fund to do this?
Yes.
And then how you're looking as well, it's kind of hard to say, is it how much money you have left over? Will it cover everything you got?
No, probably not, no. I don't remember, Kevin, do you remember? I did not go to the office today, so I couldn't remember what our max per house is.
It's 21,475.
21,475, okay, so that's typically what we will have, and we just start at the top of the list and work our way down. We'll also take a look at what funds are still available. We've also had discussions that materials are also going up right now, too, and so kind of,
Make a difference,
keep a little bit of cushion and stuff on there. So kind of go from there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny,
Thank
appreciate it. Next, we have to consider approval of the library fiscal body declaration. I think Phil might be able to explain that
Yeah,
process.
all the taxing authorities who are governed by bodies that aren't elected, their budgets, if they meet certain parameters, have to be reviewed and approved by a unit of government that is elected. And for the Huntingburg Public Library, it transcends several taxing units. It includes all of the city of Huntingburg, all of Patoka Township, and all of Cass Township. And the law in that situation says that whichever unit has the most assessed value will be the fiscal body that oversees their budget. And just barely, the city of Huntingburg has most of the assessed value in those taxing authorities. So by statute, Huntingburg is the fiscal body to review and approve their budget. And so we are required, beginning this year, just to confirm and acknowledge that we are in fact the fiscal body to review their budget when it's required. Now, we're only required to review their budget if their budget exceeds their assessed value quotient increase, which they have not this year. But we still have to acknowledge that we are their fiscal body, and you have to approve that tonight by a motion on the minutes, and then the mayor will sign the certification.
Questions?
And by the way, if it is subject to review ever, their budget, you have the authority to reduce their budget, and would also have to have a hearing on their budget, the same as we do our own budgets at the appropriate time. But this particular year, they have not exceeded their quotient, their assessed value quotient.
Any questions? So we would need a motion to approve the declaration as the city of Huntingburg as the fiscal body for the Huntingburg Public Library. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Make that motion.
Motion by Kislin,
I'll second it.
second by Balance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have consideration of a project development agreement with S&S Properties. As you recall in a recent meeting, rezoning was approved for a piece of property for the development of the project known as Chestnut Gardens on North Chestnut Street, a housing and option for our area. A little bit of history as that project started to develop. The developers came to the city of Huntingburg, and we began this discussion on how can we support a project of this type. What are the right ways to do that? All the options were looked at. First option that we looked at was whether or not a project of this type would qualify for tax abatement, and because of the types of housing it is, it would not. But wanting to be consistent in how we promoted housing in our community, we looked for other ways to contribute to this project and make encourage the development that is being planned there. We looked at, tried to be consistent in what we have done in the past with Hunter's Crossing, with the loss of St. Joseph's, with the Wagon Works projects, and what was the ways that the city of Huntingburg participated, contributed, and made an effort to assist the developer in making sure this project moves forward. Through a number of negotiation steps between the developer and the city, we walked through a lot of that, and where we landed was on what we have before us today is an agreement that basically gives a ways for the city to contribute towards the project to help reduce the development cost and allow the project to move forward and bring the housing that that is clearly identified in our housing study again, as there's a gap. There's a need for this type of housing with the duplexes that are planned, the 55 and over living. I can tell you that I myself have had at least 3 or 4 individuals come to my office and say we really need some sort of housing of this type in Huntingburg because they are Huntingburg residents who want to stay in Huntingburg, and we just didn't have that type of property available to us at that time. So as we went through the process of looking at how we've been consistent in providing incentives beyond tax abatement to our other developers in housing areas, we found that the areas that we've been able to contribute in the past have related around, utility contributions and also in the street area. So that if you look back at all those other projects that I mentioned, Hunter's Crossing, the lofts, wagon work, utility contributions were made, road work was done to allow that project to continue. So we kind of focused on that and said, how can we make that appropriate for this project? And the way we look at this as we make this proposal is that the investments that we're making in these areas are all investments in items that we as the city of Huntingburg will own at the completion of the project with the utility placements, with the streets. These are all items that we will own. We'll be the owner of those assets once this property is developed and in place. So there is an investment that we're making in ourselves in many ways. The utilities, there will be a return on investment in utilities. The street is something that we will come into our inventory, that we will be able to, add to our street inventory and also give an asset for us as we move forward. So the proposal that you have before you outlines a number of that project, the items that we developed currently, and also in good faith as this project was moving forward. There were things that we knew we believed the project was going to happen. So there was some steps taken in advance that are included in this agreement, and in particular, it was there was electric and water work that was done to allow to get into the property. Also, there was on the Chestnut Street project. You might see there's curb cuts in the project that were in there, and those were all done while that project was going on to pave Chestnut Street, rather than wait till this moment and approve it and then come back in and make some repairs to an already recently repaved street. We moved ahead with some of that infrastructure in place, so that the value of what was done there is included in this agreement as part of the agreement. Moving forward, there's going to be some more work being done in that area. Most from our area, from both there's wastewater and water installations that are going in, and the developer will be hiring their own contractor to do that work. But we're going to be helping contribute to the labor pool with that, have a laborer available to them during that project, and it's a benefit to us in many ways as well. It reduces the cost for the development, but also we have someone on site that will be maintaining that facility in the future. So they'll see, much like the project that's going on the water project through town, we have our staff on scene watching the installation, making sure it's to our standards, but also is aware of what is being done, as the as-built, as I guess they would see. So having a city employee there during that construction time is a benefit to the city as well, because we will see that the project is being completed to our desire. Much like we did the same thing with the electric, the electric installation will be in there as well, and gas as well. So the other part of this is the street construction, and in the past, especially there's different ways that street construction has happened in the past. Some of that with wagon works, came through the funding came through community crossings. With Hunter's Crossing, the funding came through our TIF area. Contributed the funds to help construct the street, and in this particular project, there is funds set aside in the edit fund right now, specifically for streets, and this is where the funding for this project, if this agreement is approved, a contribution of up to $70,000 would come from edit funds that have been set aside for street projects to help contribute to this project. So. Again, there is no direct tax dollar coming out of this, but the edit money is the money that would be set aside. There's about $140,000 set aside for street projects through edit for this year, and this would be up to $70,000 of this would go towards that project. To help in that development, and again, that's economic development money. That's its purpose, and this is, I think, in my opinion, and why this proposal is coming for you. This is an economic development opportunity for the city. this, and for me, this process of working with Mr. Kirsteins is here tonight and Mr. Steinkamp on this process, I think this gives us a good template of how Huntingburg can be participants in future housing developments as we go forward. We're doing a good job of setting a stage of, as someone would come to the city and say, we're interested in developing property, and I would at this point restrict this to housing only, is where we've restricted it to. If we have the next development come to town and they say, we want to develop this property, how can the city of Huntingburg assist? We've got a template here that we can say, these are the ways that we've assisted developers in the past. It's somewhat consistent. We can measure the project and see whether or not it meets those standards, and see what contributions we can make in order to bring that development to bear. And as part of the agreement, I'm talking about the commitments that we have on the developer side. They're committed to investing at least $5 million in Huntingburg in this project, so that the threshold has to be met. Phil, that as they demonstrate, much as we did with the Wagon Works, demonstrate that the investment has been made, then the terms of the agreement move forward. So, it's an investment that there will be a return on investment. There will be increased AV because of this investment, and so the developer is committed to a minimum of $5 million of investment to make the terms of this agreement move forward. Is that pretty well close?
Certainly. Exactly. And there's other advantages too. There's
Right.
new utility customers or retaining utility customers. There's also many of these people are 55 and older, but many of those people will still be employed, and so we'll get a larger share of the economic income, local income taxes as well. So yeah, there's just a lot of pluses to encouraging these kinds of developments, and it just gives people options in the community for optional housing availability.
It does allow some.
And by the way, these are market rate properties. They're not subsidized, they're market rate. So that's something we don't have a lot of, at least not new stock of market rate properties.
This allows maybe some single-family homes to open up
Exactly.
once as these people transition into another style of living.
I'd say it's a much-needed facility we could really benefit from. Question I would have is, would it benefit us if we do this and make a TIF district just for that only, and specify it's only going to be TIF for getting reimbursement for what we put into it possibly?
This is a residential project, so there is not a residential TIF. You cannot TIF a residential area. Well, you can, but if you have a need for an extensive amount of housing in the area, and the market is, I forget what the number was. There's a number of homes that if you haven't had development in your community to a certain extent, you qualify for a residential TIF. Well, we've built enough homes in Huntingburg in the last several years that we do not qualify for the residential TIF. So no, it doesn't qualify for a residential TIF type of, and that was one of the options that was also explored as we went through the options.
So it'd be an easy way to get our money back quicker.
Yeah.
It is a nice program that the net assets that are purchased are still owned by the city at the end of the day.
Yes.
So, we're going to collect the revenue on the utilities. So it's pretty much a win-win.
The capital investment there is also a way, for future projects as a balance to bring investment in. We have a increased number of assets to leverage. So.
We have a formula.
So I know Mr. Kirsteins is here. I don't know if council has any questions about the project or about this agreement. Again, it's been a very good process. We've been at this, I can't remember how long we've been talking about this.
And I feel like it was February, March. So it's been a while.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of negotiation and discussion, and good discussion on both sides of the best thing about the discussion going forward. We all knew this was a project that we wanted to get done, and I want to compliment Ruger and Scott Steinkamp for their dedication to make this project happen. I'll be quite honest with you, I think the package that we were looking at was a little bit more bold before the pandemic came, and when we had that happen, I've got to credit, they were very understanding that our capabilities to move forward with this project became a little bit more restricted. But I feel confident that what we're putting into this project now does not put the city of Huntingburg any risk as from a financial standpoint. And it's a project that will bring, again, at least a $5 million investment to our city, and there will be some long-term benefits beyond that we can experience because of this, and also demonstrates that if the board so chooses to do so, the desire to work with not only with local contractors on projects of this nature. I mean, we've been blessed to have some outside sources come in and do some of these larger projects, but I think it was important to show faith in our own developers here locally that the city of Huntingburg is willing to step forward and work with you as a local developer and find projects and ways to contribute. So with that, if there are any questions about that or any questions for Mr. Kirstein about the project, entertain those at this time.
Can you refresh my memory? I think I asked this question before, but after this is done, what's your estimated start time and project finish date?
Do I have to talk at the podium here?
If you would, that'd be great.
And Jasper ideas, I don't know.
Get over it.
Too much on the hot seat right away.
Yeah. Timing on this project, we just awarded the bid to Loves, so they'll be starting, they're wrapping up another project 3 to 4 weeks, and they're going to start on this one right after. So.
And as far as the completion date, any projection there?
Going through the winter is a tough time to predict all the grading infrastructure work. Optimally, I'd like to see the base coat down on the street before the asphalt plant closes, and then we can start building over the winter on 4 or 5 duplexes, and then the assisted living simultaneously. So
yeah, and one of the elements that I have failed to mention is the assisted living, which is another element that's part of this project. This is another need in the community. Mr. Steinkamp and I had that probably a discussion for 3 years on the need for that, and this is going to bring that facility to town as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of it was 2 separate projects, but they go together well. I mean, it's all on the same parcel of land. Whenever we platted the subdivision, we platted one of the lots for to have the opportunity to build 2 assisted living facilities. So to start, we're going to build one. If that goes over well, which we anticipate it will, we'll build the second one right afterwards. So if the operator chooses to max out the amount of space they have, there could be potentially 40 assisted living rooms on lot 1 of Chestnut Gardens subdivision plat, and then to recap on the duplex, it would be 12 duplexes, so 24 units, if you want to call it that, on that parcel line. So, and when the other ones will be completed, we don't have a timeline. We're going to build based off of demand. So if we build the first 4 or 5 and they're all full before we finish construction, we're going to, while we've got our crews there, just go ahead and keep building until that dries up. So what that looks like, we're not sure. But I know my phone's been ringing, Scott's phone has been ringing, apparently Denny's phone has been ringing too. So might have something in part to Candy's article that she put out. But I know that as soon as that got released, I received many calls, and so did Scott. So it's a good thing for us. We haven't vetted any of the potential candidates yet, but a lot of them Scott knows, people from Huntingburg, so he said they're good quality residents. So I don't anticipate an issue filling these up. Yeah.
I think you're presently building a website also, if I remember right.
Pardon?
I think you're presently building a website to go to, I think.
Yeah. Mitch
is
is working on a website. We'll be putting a sign in the front that just says "Coming Soon, Chestnut Gardens," and it's got a phone number and a website to where we can start gathering applications and information at that time. It's always a tough thing. People ask right now whenever they hear about it, when can I start pre-leasing? I typically say wait until we get a little bit further along with the groundwork, because like I said, going through the winter last year, I had a project and it took a couple months longer than anticipated because of the wet winter we had. So I hate to give false hopes to people, especially when planning on selling their homes like we talked about. You know, you're selling a house and moving to a rental. It's kind of a stressful situation for residents. You know, when do I list my house and how do I get on the list? So I don't have a good answer for that right now, but we're going to plan accordingly and help people plan the best they can as well. So,
I'm glad we have the demand.
Really?
yeah.
So any other questions? If not, I would ask for a motion to allow the city to enter into a project development agreement with S&S Properties for the development of the Chestnut Gardens properties.
Motion made.
Motion by McFerrin,
I'll second it.
seconded by Ware. He was in the right.
That's okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Ruger. We were just talking before the meeting, the next step is coordination meeting so that we can get all this put together so we can get everybody on the same page and bring the project forward. So, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next, we have Energy Superintendent Rudepoler with his report.
Evening, council.
John.
Start off with the gas department. Put another 7 new services in this month, 5 of them being at Hunter's Crossing 2, and we have 6 on file. And basically for the whole month, they've been working up on 5th and Geiger. I did include a picture of the work being done there. The first week, we had a 4-inch main that runs north-south on Geiger. Originally, we were going to replace a old valve there. We dug down to it, and we found some where it was laying directly on a little storm clay tile, where it rubbed the 4-inch pretty hard. So we're going to have to reroute that up and over, as you can see in the picture. We come up and then over. We were allowed to splice in a 2-inch on that 4-inch because it's low pressure. But we had to weld line stoppers on, and that usually takes some time. And so that was a project that took about a week. And once we got that done, we had to go west on 5th Street. Back when we were working 4th and Geiger for the 4th Street project, there was a 2-inch line that come into the intersection on 4th and Geiger that tied into the 4-inch. We had to cut that out of the way. We could dead end that. We had to cut that out of the way to do some other work in there and then time all the other work. With the 4th Street project going on, with just no room to tie that 2-inch back in at that intersection. So we had to move it up a block to 5th Street. So we dug up to the alley that runs by Salem Church, where it's dead-ended years ago. So we tied a 2-inch in there. Something meant a lot of digging. We had to run the steel. So it was a lot of welding. We run across a couple water lines, a couple sewer lines, and then but we finally got it all wrapped up this week. And I think the street department's redoing some sewer in that intersection right now while it's dug up. And they can get it all done and asphalt back when they're done. So that's about a 2-week project going on. And then crews are moving out to Hunter's Crossing 3. They're ready for the gas main. So they started yesterday. So they'll probably be in there a week running plastic 2-inch main in Hunter's Crossing 3. So that's, and we do have still one guy on the water line project, one of the gas crew members. It's going pretty good. Not hitting anything, and like I said, we've got one guy right on the job site in case something does come up. But that's been going pretty good. Any questions on the gas?
Questions on the gas report?
On the electric, they had installed the 5 services at Hunter's Crossing 2. Then with the street project on West 1st, there was 3 poles that were going to be in the way. Actually, one of them was rotten. We secured it because we knew this first street project was coming about, so we didn't replace it in case we did have to move it. And here we after we got the drawings and everything, it was in the way, along with 2 other poles. So I met with Jason out there and the engineer. Decided where we could move them to. We had to move them like 5 feet behind where the existing poles were. The other 2 poles, they're kind of old, and they're from 1976, so I got some age on them. So we did come up with a plan. We got them set, got the lines moved. Now we're just waiting for communication to move their lines, and then we can go ahead and pull the poles, and then that project to be ready for the construction crew to move in. And then we've been working a little on 1100 South. I did include a picture. That's the road right before you go into St. Henry. Actually, we got all the poles set on County Road 200 from Sunset Drive to the new tunnel at the airport, which they did do all the paving last week. So I look for that road to be open another week or 2. It's looking pretty good. So all the poles are pretty well set on 200 County Road. So we kind of moved to 1100 that goes into St. Henry. There's one section there, as you can see the poles, how they're leaning. They're old. So I took my crew chief out there and we went over some options. And the option we come up with, we're going to slack span across the road. I got with the county highway, Steve Berg, discussed it with him, got his okay to do it. And as you can see across the road, far in the picture, you can see a pole setting. That is where we're going to be slack spanned over. And we're going to put that line underground. We're going to lay a conduit, and it's going to run the whole length of that little patch of woods. Because if we try to set new poles in there and make them straight, there'd be some major tree clearing. So it'd be a lot less costly if we just run across the road, put it underground, and then we'll slack span across and then into St. Henry. So that's what we're going to be working on in the near future. But right now, the electric department's been working last week. They're running all the conduit out in Hunter's Crossing 3. They should finish up in a couple days, and then they're going to be running wire, setting transformers, setting splice boxes, because Hunter's Crossing 2, I think 1 lot or 2 from being filled, so they're going to be wanting to start building in Hunter's Crossing 3, so we got to hopefully get that finished up. And then I did last meeting, I did bring about our wood chipper. It's pretty well shot. So I had Rich go out and get 3 quotes. You should have in your packet. From Vermeer, Alltech, and Bobcat of Evansville. Alltech did not have a comparable wood chipper compared to the other 2, so he didn't put in a bid. His only went up to 85 horse, where the others are, let me read it here.
135, I think.
135 and 145 horse. So we did get the bids. They brought some demo models up. We went down to the First Street lot wood pile, helped Jason a little bit with chips and limbs up down there. We didn't do the whole thing.
Was there plenty of stock that you could practice on?
A variety of sizes as well.
Plenty to choose from. So they sent the bids in, and the low bid was $34,415.35. We estimated it's going to be between 35 and 40 last month when I brought it to the council. We did take, a lot of them come with winches on them. We did take the winch off, that option off. That was about a $6,000 option. We just didn't really see a need for the winch. It would drag the trees to the chipper, and you could almost load it, but we didn't really see a need for that. It wasn't $6,000 worth, so we did take that option out. So it got it down to $34,415.
Questions on the quotes?
Which one you like better?
The Bobcat is a better one. It runs, the full RPM is 900 RPMs less. The Vermeer runs at a 3,000 RPM, where the Bobcat runs at 2,100 RPM at full throttle.
The more torque, though.
More torque, and what it does on the radiator, before, it would always clog up with the, this blows out, so you don't have to worry about it clogging up. You don't notice it, and it's hard on the engine.
Yeah. You said you went down to the lot and shipped up some stuff. I remember when the one you got now, they brought it down in the lot, and Kenny was there, and they shipped up stuff and showed him that one like 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was a 94 model.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
I know that since they're close, I was curious. Obviously, we wanted to get the one that's, best suited and will last as long or whatever, so.
and this one's
the
got
Bobcat's the
the
one.
Bobcat has a solid chute, where the Alltech and the Vermeer had a fold-up chute. So you got that hinge that's your weak spot of
It's gonna
the,
wear.
Yeah.
It's gonna wear, yeah.
where the Bobcat has a solid chute.
There's no, I assume there's no safety differences. I think they're all mandated to have certain,
Yeah. They got pretty well basically the same safety
that bar or whatever.
safety measures on them.
Will this be shared between any departments or just yours?
Well, electric's going to use it most, but sometimes some of the other departments got some small stuff they come borrow, just like they did the old one. But the majority, we'd be there anyway, cutting them down to size and with our bucket trucks.
Typically the electric gets them topped, and then
Yeah.
the street or whoever comes in and
I like to say some small, another department come get it, which is no problem. Did that with the other one.
So the recommendation is the bid from Bobcat of St. Louis in the amount of $34,415.35. We have a
I'd make a motion to accept the bid from Bobcat.
motion by McFerrin. Second by Dubon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Hopefully it's going to last another 26 years.
Come back in 26 years and ask for another one.
I'll come back as a spectator. And the other thing on this agenda, Mayor was in contact with Jeff Quayle from Radius about the possibility of applying for a grant for a vehicle charging station. I think it's coming. I know Glenn brought the idea up about putting one down at Market Street, but there's grants available now for a charging station. And like I say, batteries, they've come a long way recently, and I know the batteries in car batteries, electric vehicles will be coming 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, 20 out. But the way the technology is moving, 5 years ago, who would have thought you had a battery-operated chainsaw? Well, now these companies are coming out with battery-operated chainsaws and weed trimmers, and you've even got lawnmowers that put your battery in and mowing your grass. So I think it's a coming thing.
Mr. Quayle, the Radius, they're applying for the whole region, and they reached out to us, and knowing the development that's going on in the downtown, they thought that we would be a good location for that. Again, this project is larger than just Huntingburg. It'll go radius-wise, so I think there's a very good chance that we could be successful in the grant. So it would be a pretty widespread impact. And so this is kind of our opportunity to get our foot in the door. I know that the council is aware there is some plans for future expansion in the area on the south side of the park for some additional parking areas in there. And that's kind of where we've targeted as if we're going to develop that as parking. Access to the utilities would be pretty convenient in that spot. So should we develop that parking lot to the south there where the home that was there, it used to sit, if we develop that into some additional parking, that would be the preferred site, but we're going to have a phone call next week to kind of discuss more of that and what the details would be. But we just wanted to bring the council to go ahead and move forward with seeking the grant for this.
And preferably, you want to locate it near a business district where,
Right.
if you got an electric car, you got an app that tells you where your charging stations are located, so you can kind of plan your route. And if you get low, pull in, you can charge it, and then while you're charging, you can visit downtown, grab something to eat, visit, do a little shopping.
Is there any around the area here? I don't know.
I think the city of Greenfield's, they're next to an interstate. And actually,
Actually, in
they're,
this county.
I don't think there's anywhere near.
There is, I think over at Schnitzelbank and
Yeah.
what's the hotel there?
Fairfield Inn.
Fairfield, yeah, Fairfield.
Yes, there's one there. That's
That's the only one I
And
know.
then, and this would be the level, I think it's high at this level. This would be about a 2 hour, what was it, 2 hours for
so
full
level
charge?
2 charging station, which is a 240 volt, which charges your vehicle roughly 2 hours. But it kind of depends on how your vehicle's set up. Where level 1 is more a household, where you plug it into a regular plug-in and charge it overnight. It's a level 1. Level 2, like I say, it's like a dryer outlet.
110 and 220. Like 110 and 220.
Yeah.
Are these generally metered? I mean, do you pay?
I think you put a credit card, you
Yeah.
get charged so much a kilowatt hour.
Part of this is we'll be able to collect fees.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'd be paid.
I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
This is a motion from the board
To
to proceed with the grant process.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Kissling,
I'll second it.
second by Bounds. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Anything else? Electric?
We saved your electric pole a while ago.
Pardon?
We saved your electric pole a while ago. We had
Oh, did you?
we had a vehicle fire right underneath your power line. Your crew was there.
Yeah, were they?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Gary Meyerholtz.
Good evening.
Hello, Gary.
I'll run through mine right quick, and then we'll bring John Wetzel up, and he can talk about some change orders that we got. My crew's still working on Washington Street, switching services from the 6th to the 8th. That will be an ongoing project, at least through the fall and maybe into next spring before we get everything done. We have the 100 block of North Washington finished. We had a small leak on First Street. Estimated water loss was about 150,000 gallons. Fall flushing will start in August 31st and continue through September. And we've removed 3 lead service lines from our distribution system. Our demand, I've got it that it slacked up a little bit, and for about 3 or 4 days it did, but it's right back up to where it was before. 2 weeks ago, I came to you and talked to you about our chlorine generator. We checked on that, and the lead time on that generator was 6 to 8 weeks. So I decided to go ahead and place an order so we at least get on the list. We can cancel that if you guys decide I don't need that generator for some reason. But the unit came in for the upgrades, and it is a 480 3-phase unit. And I talked to our electrician, found out that a 480 unit draws 35 amps, whereas a 220 volt unit can draw up to 200 amps. I talked to Alan Birch, he's our electrical engineer for Midwestern, and he thinks there's some benefit to upgrading our generator to a 3-phase. The benefit that I see is we stock certain parts for that generator, and if we have a 220 and a 480, we're going to stock 2 sets of parts. Whereas if we have 2 480 units, we have 1 set of parts that we have to stock. So all we'd have to do, if it's approved, would be call them and change it from a 240 or 220 to a 480. The cost difference in that $54,530 for the 220, and it's $59,737 for the 480. That's a price difference of $5,107. Now, currently, in order to replace this disinfectant that we normally generate, we're buying bleach at a cost of about $800 a week. So it's not a decision that we want to put off for an extended period of time. We're hoping that the generator for the upgrade is installed within the next few weeks, but Denora has to come in and do the startup on that generator. So our actual startup will come after Denora sets a date for them to come put a startup. Aaron Beaker has started his training in filter plant. That training lasts for 2 years, so if we started him in 20, he won't be ready to be an operator until 22. By then, you may need another operator. Our high demand day for the month of July was 1,786,000 gallons. Our high production day out at filter plant was 1,165,990 gallons in 24 hours. The new metering system, our fail rate is running about a 0.03%, and that's with 4 years installed. And this month we installed 8 new services. For the upgrades for the filter plant, we have the wet well set. The inlet for that wet well has been cut in. Today they set the vault. That's the outfall of the wet well. That's what will bring water up to the plant. And the addition for the Allen room is complete, and they're ready to start installing equipment in it. For the distribution end, we have the pipe installed from Maple Street to the grassed area between Oak and Chestnut. They're hoping to install the vault that goes out there this next week. And all the customers have been switched to the new main on the 500 block of Main Street. And the handicap ramps have been poured for all the sidewalks between 1st Street and 6th Street, the south side of 6th Street. Any questions before I get Mr. Wetzel up here?
Question about the vault. I've
Yes,
had
sir.
a lot of people ask me about that. That is the actual part that's doing your switching, right?
That is the actual what?
That's the part that's going to do your pump switching that you're wanting
Yes.
to count.
That's going to allow us to bring the south water back to the main part of town.
I keep getting asked that question. That's why I thought I'd ask in public.
It'll circulate in. All that will be buried underneath the ground. All you're going to see is a little hatch.
That's what I tell everybody. And they said, "You're going to bury that big thing?" I said, "Yes."
Yep. They've got the hole about dug for it, so it'll go in there.
Oh, we're gonna paint it, say, welcome to Huntingburg on the side of it.
Well, I thought that would be a good sign. Anything else? I'll bring up Mr. John Wetzel and he can go through the...
John, we had a progress meeting a couple weeks ago and just wanted to get an update on some of the, any project, there's things that you need to adjust as you go on. So John has prepared a change order for you and is ready to present what those changes might look like. So, John.
Thank you. To kind of add on to what Gary was talking about there for progress on Division 1, which is the distribution system. When we originally started this, I think everybody knew going in it was going to be fairly difficult construction, being next to a main road with the traffic and also with a lot of other utilities there. The work hasn't progressed quite as fast as what I think Huntingburg Machine Works had hoped to start with. They have had run into a little bit of an issue in a couple areas. They had a little bit more rain than what we normally would in the summer. Also, where they tied in at First Avenue or First Street, had to go a little bit farther to the west there. 2nd Street, we hit an old main, and I think the day after they went through, that main broke and they helped repair that.
Long story short, still have a decent amount of work to do. All that north of the tracks, all the way up to 12th Street has to be done. Our bore at 14th Street has to be done. The original estimated completion date was going to be here this month with final completion in September. They're not going to meet that. I did pass out their new schedule or updated schedule that they have, and they are looking in their minds to finish their actual work or the mains and tying services back in mid-October, and then do final restoration work and get the restoration work done into mid-November. So, and that's the big 11.5 by 17 spreadsheet there for Huntingburg Machine Works is that schedule. They are looking to start next week north of the tracks and start laying that main out toward 12th Street. So the change order incorporates a 60-day time extension. It would be both for substantial and final completion. It would move the substantial completion date to October 16th and the final completion date to November 15th. The second component that we have of that change order is additional work there at 2nd Street. That main that I mentioned when they went by and it leaked the next day, that's the crossing that goes across 231 at 12th Street. I think that's originally from the 40s, I'm guessing. I don't know exactly.
30s or 40s.
So what we'd be looking to do there, since that pipe was deemed, once we got to looking at it, pretty bad shape, that would replace the pipe going across 231 at 2nd Street. Basically, it would be an open cut situation, and it would be replacing in kind or in place that existing pipe. So basically, we'd come on either side of the road on 231, shut the existing main down, put valves there to keep everybody in service, remove that pipe going across 231 and place new pipe going across and tie back in. That price would be $40,215. What Huntingburg Machine Works did, we have unit prices set up in the project for the installation of the pipe and the valves. We use those unit prices for the majority of those line items. There was a couple line items in there that weren't in the original project that worked out pricing for that. So that would be for consideration for that replacement. We would recommend that. Kind of an overall project dollars. We originally had a little over $173,000 set up in the contingencies when we started the project. This is kind of the first thing on Division 1 that we've come across. I did want to mention some things on Division 2, the plant work that we've come across that we haven't officially had a change order for yet, but some things the last few months that we've come up with on construction. We've talked about a couple potential adds. A couple minor ones first. We have a new blower. There's an exhaust fan on the enclosure. We had to run 120 volt service over to, so that was $1,049. Off the backwash and blow down tanks, there's wall sleeves in there that come off the pumps. Old plans, and we did think they were 4-inch. They turned out to be 3-inch. With the new pumps we're putting in, we do want to make sure we have enough capacity through there. So those wall sleeves, to go from a 3 to 4-inch, we'd have to add $2,216. The only other thing we talked about as far as an add would be possible blower replacement of the existing blower. We did get a price for that, and I don't know if that's something you want to do or not, but we had $33,740 for that blower replacement. We've also come across a couple deducts on the plant. We were going to eliminate some riprap and fabric on the southwest side of those tanks. Think that the grade will be shallow enough where you can mow that with a mower and not have to put the riprap there. And then we also just recently came across where the new raw water pump station was going east of the plant down there behind the dam, or below the dam. We did some exploratory digging before we started construction. That was during the design process, and we could not find that 12-inch finished water main, and we really thought it was going to be right there where that pump station was going. We just couldn't dig down deep enough to find it. Turns out it was out a little ways, and we did not have to relocate that. So there would be a deduct there of $30,100 $140 since we did not have to move that out around the station. And then to that same effect, we'll have a little bit of a deduct on the existing pump station. When we take it out of service, we showed a bypass around it to pump temporarily while we take that out of service. Reynolds thinks they can do that on the weekend and get that done where we won't have to put the bypass in. So that would be a $2,952 deduct. Now, those things, we have not come to you with a formal change order yet, but those are items that we've come across so far at the plant, either over and above or taken out of the original construction. So just wanted to be upfront with everybody there on where we think we are from a dollar standpoint right now on what we've had pluses and minuses so far. The other thing, Gary did talk about that existing chlorine generation system. The game plan was originally we were going to install a second unit because we were installing a second set of filters. We were not looking to switch that out. Talking to SRF, if you have dollars available in the project, SRF would consider reimbursement of those costs if you would so choose to do that and have that money left over at the end. A couple caveats to that, though. We would have to send a request to them formally requesting those dollars. It would not have to go through Reynolds or one of the contractors. They would reimburse the city directly. Second caveat to that is, though, the workers that come on site from Denora to install that and work on that would have to be paid Davis-Bacon wages, just like workers in the project. So as long as those caveats would be met, they would consider reimbursement if you would choose to do that with those dollars in the project. So to date, that's kind of the differences, add subtracts that we've talked about or had in the project. So if anybody has any questions on that.
What I thought we'd do is, I wanted that second new blower, but we can do that 3 years from now or 4 years from now. It's not going to cost us that much more to do it then. So we'll put that off and put the money on the chlorine generators, what I'm thinking we need to do.
Did you decide to go to the 480 generator, so upgrade that?
Well, that's,
the new one would be
approved by you guys.
That's what I was getting ready to ask her. I got, that kind of got talked about, but did we have
We didn't decide anything.
We have to make action, take action? The 480 would be a more efficient unit, would it not? I mean,
yes.
And we're only talking a few $1,000s upgrade,
Right.
and it's we're having to buy it anyway.
Yes, we're having to buy
So we'll
one.
have two identical.
But it was not approved. I mean, I've got us on an order list, and if you guys decide not to do that, I don't know how we're going to get by without it, but we can cancel it. But I couldn't see waiting another 2 years.
I don't like drinking a lot of water either.
So that's why it was ordered. We have plenty of time to cancel it, but
I don't have any.
this way we're 2 weeks
Ahead of
closer
schedule.
to getting it than we would have been had I waited.
I don't have an issue keeping it on order and upgrading to the 480, but my question is, you just explained we had almost $32,000 in deduct on the project, and the blower's around $33,000, so could we just insert the blower back into the project?
Well, we can if that's what you want to do.
Well, that's my question, if would we be just as well to do it now that we have the money?
the one thing with that, we still have a ways to go on construction.
We're not done.
We would add, we're adding 40, if you would choose to replace the main on Second Street, that's a $40,000 add. And if you would look to get reimbursed, if you would choose to do that through the project for that chlorine generation unit, that's roughly $60,000. So that's about $100,000 there. Like I said, we had $173,000 set up originally. Don't know what we got a few months to go yet here on especially the
And that was
plant.
one
So
of
don't know.
the blower, as Gary and I talked about it, as we get down the road towards the end of the project, let's see what the reserve looks like, and if there is.
I'll retract my question to go with Gary's recommendation.
There's just not a whole lot of contingency money in
I
this
understand.
project. And I'd rather, if I'm going to put off one of the two, I know which one I'm going to put off.
Yeah, I'd rather put off the blower as well.
Yeah, I do think if the pipe on Second that runs under 231, I think now's the time to do that.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That's a
Well, the
no-brainer.
whole purpose of doing all this is so we don't have
So have to dig it back up, right?
Dig up it. And we know that's bad, so
And you're gonna replace it you're not gonna parallel it because you don't have to.
Yeah, we just thought the easiest thing to do was to shut down on either side and just dig right there, right where it is. It would be an open cut placement going across the road, so they're going to have to shut a lane down at a time, obviously.
Why are you doing that?
We're under construction.
So I guess the first order of business would probably, the first one would be to consider change order number 1, which does have the change on the 2nd Street that's discussed, and also the extension of the substantial completion and final by 60 days. And that's subject to change order number 1. So any questions on that change order? If not, I would accept the motion to approve change order number 1.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ware,
I'll second it.
second by McFerrin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now, do we need approval for the
Generator.
generator, as described by the superintendent, the purchase of the generator, the chlorine generator?
I'll make that motion to approve that purchase.
Motion by Kissling,
Second.
second by Bounds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, John?
One other thing, just on the schedule, I wanted to discuss. Reynolds, they have until March of next year to get everything done. Their revised schedule indicates that they will be done by that time. Just wanted to point out to everybody, we are having a little bit of an issue there. The new filters, there's 4 filter units, and they're in, basically 2 and 2 right beside each other. There's a flow split structure right in the middle of that. Water comes from the clarifier into that flow split structure, and it goes out in each of those 4 units. Having a tough time getting that flow split structure in. Originally, it was supposed to be in July. I can't remember the original date. Then it was supposed to.
And the last one was August 12th. They didn't make that.
And they're still probably 3 weeks out on getting that. It's an aluminum piece, but just having all kind of problems getting it here. That is kind of pushing that back. We really thought we were going to have that in some time ago already. So they're looking to, again, if all goes well, they're looking to get that in September. Ideally, based upon their schedule, they would get the new filters operational right at the end of the year. To do that, though, they still have to get the flocculators and clarifiers in front of them in. They're waiting to do that until they get this flow split structure in with the way they're wanting to dig out the rest inside that building. So anyway, I hope it does come in 3 weeks, but that has been pushed back a couple different times already. So.
Not unexpected on a project this big.
Unexpected.
Thank you, John.
The upgrade on the 220 to 480 generator, is that going to be a change order later, or do they need to prove that tonight?
We just did.
Well, that was a chlorine generator. I thought those were 2 different items.
Oh, no, that's a chlorine generation
Okay,
system.
so-
It's
all right.
the
I thought
one,
they were
yeah.
2 different items.
If you're getting them both 480, one was already ordered and you're gonna upgrade, this
I
one will
got
be
you.
480.
And I think, if you would want to, see if, use project funds to do that, we'd have to get a letter ready to go to SRF to request that, and we just need to make sure that when the contractor, Denora, comes on site, that they are paid Davis-Bacon wages, and that's something that we would want. Region 15, they oversee the labor standards on this. We would want them to verify that so we can turn around to SRF and show that they were paid Davis-Bacon wages. So that's something we can work through once they get on site.
So after all this, we approve all this, we say we have like $100,000 left over and changes possibly?
Roughly, if everything comes in as is, if you use roughly $60,000 for that chlorine generator and $40,000 for this, we'd have roughly $70,000 left. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, worst case scenario, if stuff comes up, if we wouldn't be able to use project money to repay that chlorine generation unit, but ideally, hopefully, we can get everything covered.
We have any trade-in value on the generators that we're holding? Okay.
Maybe we'll get some spare parts out of it.
Yeah, you can have a bunch of spare parts.
2 cents a hundred.
Yeah. Very well.
Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
Any items, Mr. Schneider?
Nothing.
Mr. Dipple, any items?
I do.
What you got here is what I would intend to advertise to Gateway for our tax, our budget and tax levies. This is actually a copy of it, what will be on Gateway for people to look at. I used, on page 3 and 4, I used $140 million as far as what we would be right now to generate the rates. I don't expect that to be, we would use like $191 million to do the, what I would perceive the rate to be, which would be about $1.60. 1.1657 is the max that we can get with that rate, with that assessed value. So I guess I just need your approval to advertise this, to publish this. There's no advertising, it's just uploading it into Gateway, pushing the button.
We have a motion to allow the secretary to publish the budget as proposed.
I'll make that motion, yes.
Motion by Kissling,
I'll say that.
second by McFerrin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This is, of course, still subject to the public hearing, subject to this matter.
Right, but it can't go any higher than what we publish. But it can always come down.
All right.
Very good.
Any items from, anything else, Tom? Yep. Any items from council?
We've already been there.
No items from the floor.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion by Ware to adjourn,
I'll second.
second by Kissling. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Gentlemen, thank you for your work this evening.